There are some kids who walk through high school like they own the place. They laugh loud in the hallways. They sit at the best tables in the cafeteria. Teachers know their names. Everyone knows their names. And then there are kids like Tomas. Tomas Reyes was 16 years old, and if you asked most people at Lincoln High School who he was, they would probably shrug. Maybe they had seen him around. Maybe not. He was the kind of kid who sat in the back row and never raised his hand. The kind of kid who ate lunch alone in the corner of the band room because the cafeteria felt like a jungle he did not know how to survive. He was not bullied. That would have required people to notice him first. Tomas lived with his family in a small apartment on the east side of town. The building was old. The walls were thin. You could hear the neighbors arguing at night. And in winter, the heating never quite worked the way it should. His two younger sisters shared one bedroom. His parents shared another. And Tomas slept on a fold-out couch in the living room, which he set up every night and put away every morning before school. His mother worked double shifts at the hospital. She was a cleaning lady there, and she came home most nights with her feet swollen and her eyes tired. But she always kissed Tomas on the forehead before she collapsed into bed. Always. His father worked as a janitor at the Whitmore Concert Hall downtown. It was a beautiful building, the kind of place that looked like it belonged in another century. Tall columns out front, golden chandeliers inside. Velvet seats that stretched on forever. The best musicians in the world came to play there. Orchestras, opera singers, and pianists. So many pianists. Tomas had never been inside. His father had worked there for 11 years, and not once had the family been able to afford tickets to a show. The cheapest seats cost more than their grocery bill for 2 weeks, so Tomas only knew the concert hall from the outside, from the parking lot, mostly, where he sometimes sat in his father's old pickup truck and did his homework while waiting for the shift to end. On those nights, if he rolled down the window just a little, he could hear it. Faint, like a dream leaking through the walls, the sound of a piano. It was the most beautiful thing he had ever heard. Tomas did not remember when he first fell in love with the piano. Maybe it was a video he saw online when he was 12. Maybe it was a movie. Maybe it was those nights in the parking lot, listening to music that felt like it came from another world. All he knew was that something inside him ached every time he heard those notes. It was like his chest was too small to hold what he was feeling. He wanted to play. More than anything in his life, he wanted to play. But piano lessons cost money. A real piano cost even more. And in the Reyes household, there was no extra money. Every dollar went somewhere important. Rent, food, medicine for his grandmother, school supplies for his sisters. Tomas understood this. He never asked for lessons. He never complained. He just kept the dream locked up inside him like a secret he was afraid to say out loud. Then one Saturday, everything changed. Tomas was walking home from the grocery store, carrying 2 plastic bags that dug into his fingers. He took a shortcut through the back streets and passed a thrift shop he had never noticed before. The sign in the window said everything was half price. He almost kept walking. But something made him stop. There, sitting on a dusty table between a broken lamp and a stack of old magazines, was a keyboard. It was not a nice keyboard. It was scratched and faded. And when Tomas pressed a key, he noticed that 3 of them did not work at all. The price tag said $24. Half price meant $12. Tomas had exactly $14 in his pocket. He had saved it over 3 months, a little here and a little there, for no reason at all. Just to have something, just to feel like he had a tiny bit of control over his life. He bought the keyboard. He carried it home wrapped in his jacket so no one would ask questions. He hid it under his fold-out couch, and that night, after everyone else was asleep, he pulled it out, plugged in a pair of old headphones, and pressed a key. No sound came out for anyone else to hear. But in his ears, through those crackling headphones, a single note rang out. Clear. Pure. Waiting. Tomas taught himself to play. He had no teacher. He had no books. He had a phone with a cracked screen and a YouTube app. And that was enough. Every night, after his homework was done, and his family was asleep. He sat cross-legged on the living room floor with the keyboard in his lap. He watched videos. He paused. He rewound. He tried again and again until his fingers memorized the movements. The 3 broken keys were a problem. He learned to work around them, adjusting songs, skipping notes, finding ways to make the music sound whole, even though his instrument was not. It was like learning to run with a limp. Hard, but not impossible. Weeks turned into months. Months turned into a year. And slowly, quietly, Tomas became good. Not just good, remarkable. He learned Beethoven. He learned Chopin. He learned pieces that were meant for concert halls, not cramped living rooms. His fingers flew across the keys with a speed and feeling that surprised even him. It was like the music had always been inside him, waiting for a way out. The keyboard was just the door, but nobody knew. Tomas never played when anyone could hear. He never told his friends, mostly because he did not have many. He never told his parents, because he did not want them to feel bad that they could not give him more. He never told his sisters, because they were young and loud and could not keep secrets, so the music stayed hidden. And Tomas stayed invisible. At school, he was still the quiet kid in the back row. At home, he was still the boy on the fold-out couch. No one looked at him and saw a musician. No one looked at him and saw anything special at all. But late at night, when the apartment was dark and the city was quiet, Tomas Reyes sat with a $12 keyboard and played symphonies that would have made angels stop to listen. He did not know it yet. He could not possibly have known. But his life was about to change in a way he never imagined. Because sometimes, the universe has a way of finding the people who are hiding. Sometimes, the things we keep secret are the very things that are meant to be seen. And sometimes, a broken keyboard and a borrowed dream are all it takes to start a story that the whole world will remember. It was the coldest night of January when everything changed. Tomas was sitting on his fold-out couch, headphones on, fingers moving silently across his keyboard. The apartment was quiet. His sisters were asleep. His mother was working the night shift at the hospital again. Outside, the wind was howling like it wanted to come inside. His phone buzzed. He almost ignored it. But something made him look. It was a text from his mother, and the words made his stomach drop. "Your father is sick. He called me from work. He sounds bad. I can't leave the hospital. Can you check on him? Please." Tomas was out the door in 3 minutes. He grabbed his jacket, his keys, and a small bag of medicine from the bathroom cabinet. Cold tablets, pain relievers, anything that might help. He did not have a car, so he ran to the bus stop and waited in the freezing wind for 15 minutes that felt like an hour. The bus ride downtown took forever. Tomas sat by the window, watching the city lights blur past, his leg bouncing with worry. His father was the strongest man he knew. The man worked 6 days a week. He never complained. He never called in sick. If he was bad enough to call Tomas's mother, something was really wrong. The Whitmore Concert Hall looked different at night. During the day, it was grand and welcoming, with people in nice clothes walking up the front steps. But at midnight, it was dark and empty. The columns cast long shadows. The windows were black. The whole building looked like it was holding its breath. Tomas went around to the back entrance, the one his father had shown him once. He punched in the code his father had told him years ago, hoping it still worked. The door clicked open. Inside, the hallway was dim. Emergency lights glowed along the floor like tiny orange stars. The air smelled like floor polish and old wood. Tomas walked quickly, his footsteps echoing off the walls, until he found the maintenance room. His father was sitting on a folding chair, leaning against the wall. His face was pale. His forehead was covered in sweat. His eyes were half closed, and his breathing sounded heavy and wrong. "Papa," Tomas said, rushing to his side. "What happened?" His father tried to smile. It was a weak smile, the kind that is meant to comfort but only makes you more afraid. "Just a fever, mijo. It came on fast. I thought I could finish the shift, but..." He coughed, a deep, rattling sound that shook his whole body. Tomas opened the bag and handed his father the medicine. He found a bottle of water in the corner and made him drink. He took off his own jacket and wrapped it around his father's shoulders, even though the old man tried to protest. "You should go home," his father said. "I'll finish up. Just a few more rooms." "No." Tomas shook his head. "You rest. Tell me what needs to be done." "I'll do it." His father looked at him for a long moment. There was something in his eyes. Pride, maybe. Or gratitude. Or just the tired love of a man who had worked his whole life to give his family something better. "The main hall," he said finally. "Just needs to be checked. Lights off. Doors locked. That's all." Tomas nodded. "Rest. I'll be back soon." He left his father in the maintenance room and walked down the long hallway toward the main concert hall. He had never been this deep inside the building before. The walls were covered with old photographs of famous musicians. The carpet was thick and soft under his feet. Everything felt expensive, important, like he did not belong there. Then he pushed open the double doors, and he stopped breathing. The concert hall was enormous, bigger than anything he had ever seen. Rows and rows of velvet seats stretched out into the darkness like a sea of deep red. The ceiling was high and curved, painted with angels and clouds. Crystal chandeliers hung like frozen waterfalls, dark now but still beautiful. And there, in the center of the stage, under a single safety light that cast a soft golden glow, was a piano. Not a keyboard. Not a cheap upright from a school music room. A grand piano. A real one. Black and shining, with curves that looked like they were made by an artist, not a factory. Tomas knew enough to recognize the name on the side. Steinway. He had read about Steinway pianos online. He knew they were the best in the world. He knew that professional musicians fought for the chance to play them. He knew that this one, sitting on this stage, probably cost more than his family would earn in 10 years. He walked toward it without deciding to. His feet just moved. His heart was pounding so hard he could hear it in his ears. The stage floor creaked under his weight. The piano got closer. Closer. He stood in front of it for a long time. Just looking. Just breathing. The keys were perfect. White and black. Smooth and waiting. He reached out one hand and let his fingers hover above them, not quite touching. "One note," he told himself. "Just one. Just to know what it feels like." He pressed a key. The sound that came out was like nothing he had ever heard. It filled the entire hall. Rich and deep and alive. It did not just reach his ears. It reached his chest, his stomach, his bones. It was the sound he had been chasing for years on his broken keyboard. And here it was, real and perfect and impossible. He pressed another key. Then another. And then, without meaning to, Tomas began to play. He played Chopin first. A nocturne he had taught himself from a YouTube video. One note at a time. On a keyboard with 3 missing keys. But now, on this piano, it sounded completely different. It sounded the way it was supposed to sound, the way the composer must have heard it in his head 200 years ago. Tomas forgot where he was. He forgot about his father in the maintenance room. He forgot about the bus ride home. The cold outside, the fold-out couch waiting for him. He forgot about everything except the music. He played Debussy. He played Beethoven. He played a piece by Rachmaninoff that was so difficult he had spent 6 months learning it, practicing the same passages over and over until his fingers cramped. Here, on the Steinway, it poured out of him like water from a broken dam. The empty concert hall listened. 2,000 seats, all empty, all silent. The angels on the ceiling looked down. The chandeliers hung still, and the music filled every corner, every shadow, every inch of that sacred space. Tomas played for 3 hours. He did not notice the time passing. He did not notice his father standing in the doorway at some point, watching with tears in his eyes before quietly slipping away. He did not notice the small red light blinking in the corner of the stage, the security camera, recording everything. When Tomas finally stopped, his fingers aching and his cheeks wet with tears, he did not remember crying. The silence that followed was the loudest thing he had ever heard. He sat there for a long moment, staring at the keys, breathing hard. Then he closed the piano lid gently, like he was saying goodbye to a friend. He walked off the stage, found his father waiting in the hallway, and helped him to the car. Neither of them spoke about what had happened, but the camera had seen everything. And by morning, the footage would be in the hands of someone who would change Tomas's life forever. He just did not know it yet. The morning after that night, Tomas woke up on his fold-out couch like nothing had happened. He made breakfast for his sisters. He checked on his father, who was still weak but feeling better. He went to school, sat in the back row, and said nothing to anyone. The concert hall felt like a dream now. A beautiful, impossible dream that belonged to someone else's life. Tomas pushed it to the back of his mind and tried to focus on his math test. He had no idea that 5 miles away, a woman named Gloria Vasquez was about to watch the security footage and have her entire morning turned upside down. Gloria was 61 years old and had been the director of Whitmore Concert Hall for almost 20 years. She had seen everything. She had hosted the greatest musicians in the world. She had shaken hands with presidents and celebrities and composers whose names were in history books. Nothing surprised her anymore, or so she thought. Every morning, Gloria reviewed the security footage from the night before. It was a habit. Nothing more. Usually, there was nothing to see. Empty hallways, locked doors, maybe a mouse running across the stage once in a while. But that morning, she clicked on the file from camera 7. The one that covered the main stage. And she saw something that made her put down her coffee cup very slowly. A boy. A teenager, really. Skinny, dark hair, wearing what looked like a janitor's uniform that was too big for him. He was sitting at the Steinway. Her Steinway. The one that cost more than most houses. The one that only the finest pianists in the world were allowed to touch. Gloria felt a flash of anger. Who was this kid? How did he get in? She was about to call security when she noticed something strange. He was playing. Not banging on the keys. Not fooling around. Playing. Really playing. Gloria turned up the volume on her computer. The sound quality was not great. Security cameras were not designed to capture music. But even through the tinny speakers, she could hear it. Chopin. Nocturne, in E-flat major. One of the most beautiful pieces ever written for piano. And this boy, this nobody in an oversized uniform, was playing it like he had been born with the music already inside him. Gloria watched for 5 minutes. Then 10. Then 30. She forgot about her coffee. She forgot about her morning meetings. She forgot about everything except the image on her screen. The boy played for nearly 3 hours. He played pieces that concert pianists spent years perfecting. He played with a feeling, a depth, that Gloria had rarely seen in professionals twice his age. His technique was not perfect. There were small mistakes here and there, the kind that came from learning without a teacher. But the emotion, the soul, that was something you could not teach. When the video finally ended, Gloria sat back in her chair and did something she had not done in a very long time. She cried. Then she did something even more surprising. Something that her board of directors would later call either genius or madness. She took a 90-second clip from the footage. The best 90 seconds. The part where the boy was playing Rachmaninoff with tears running down his face, though you could barely see them in the dim light. She uploaded it to the concert hall's official social media page with a simple caption. Last night, we had an unexpected visitor. That was it. No name, no explanation. Just those 7 words, and a video of a teenage boy playing piano like his life depended on it. She posted it at 9 in the morning. By noon, it had 10,000 views. By 6 in the evening, it had 500,000. By midnight, it had crossed 4 million. And Gloria's phone had not stopped ringing for 8 hours straight. The video spread like wildfire. People shared it on every platform. They tagged their friends. They wrote comments with crying emojis and heart emojis, and words like, incredible, and unbelievable, and, who is this kid? News stations picked it up, first the local ones, then the national ones. Headlines started appearing everywhere. Mystery teen plays piano in empty concert hall. Viral video shows untrained boy performing classical masterpieces. The janitor's son, who made the internet cry. Famous musicians shared the video. A world-renowned pianist from Vienna posted it with the caption, "I have been playing for 40 years, and this boy has something I am still searching for." A famous composer in Los Angeles wrote, "This is why music exists." And through all of this, Tomas had no idea. He went to school that day like normal. He ate lunch alone in the band room like normal. He went home, did his homework, and helped his mother with dinner. He pulled out his old keyboard at midnight and practiced quietly with his headphones on. It was his younger sister who found out first. She was scrolling through her phone the next morning when she suddenly screamed so loud that Tomas almost fell off the couch. "That's you," she shouted, shoving the phone in his face. "Tomas, that's you. You're on the internet. You're everywhere." Tomas looked at the screen. He saw himself. Sitting at the Steinway. Playing. Crying. The video had 12 million views now. 12 million people had watched him play. His hands started shaking. Within an hour, the whole family knew. His mother stood in the kitchen, with her hand over her mouth, tears streaming down her face. His father sat in his chair, silent, staring at the phone like he was seeing a ghost. His sisters were jumping up and down, screaming about how their brother was famous. Tomas felt like he was going to be sick. He had never wanted this. The music was supposed to be his secret, his private thing, the one part of his life that belonged only to him. And now 12 million strangers had seen it. They had watched him at his most vulnerable, most honest moment. He did not go to school that day. Reporters started showing up outside the apartment building by afternoon. Someone had figured out who he was. Someone always figures out. They knocked on doors. They asked neighbors for comments. They stood on the sidewalk with cameras and microphones, waiting for any glimpse of the boy from the video. Tomas's mother closed all the curtains. His father unplugged the landline phone because it would not stop ringing. His sisters were told to stay inside and not talk to anyone. The small apartment felt like a bunker under siege, but the messages kept coming. Emails flooded in through the concert hall, forwarded by Gloria, who had been trying to reach the family all day. Scholarship offers from music schools, interview requests from television shows, messages from talent agents and producers and people who wanted to help manage his career. One message was different from the rest. It came from Gloria herself, short and simple. No promises, no pressure. Just an invitation to come to the concert hall and talk. "I don't want anything from you," she wrote. "I just want to meet the boy who reminded me why I fell in love with music in the first place." Tomas read that message over and over, sitting on his fold-out couch while the chaos swirled around him. The world had found him. His secret was out. There was no going back to being invisible. The only question now was what he was going to do next. His father sat down beside him that night, after the reporters had finally left and the apartment was quiet again. He put a hand on his son's shoulder and looked at him with tired, proud eyes. "I watched you that night," he said quietly, from the doorway. "I never said anything because I did not have the words. But Mijo, what you have is a gift. A real gift. And gifts like that are not meant to be hidden." Tomas looked at his father. The man who worked 6 days a week cleaning floors so his family could survive. The man who had never complained. Never asked for anything for himself. "I'm scared, Papa," Tomas whispered. His father smiled. A real smile this time. "Good," he said. "That means it matters. The things that matter are always a little scary." The next morning, Tomas called the number Gloria had left. He was ready to stop hiding. The Whitmore concert hall looked different in the daylight. Less magical, maybe. More real. The columns were just stone. The windows were just glass. But as Tomas walked up the front steps for the first time in his life, his heart was beating so fast he thought it might burst right out of his chest. His father walked beside him. He had taken the day off work, something he almost never did. He was wearing his best shirt, the one he only wore to church on Christmas. His shoes were polished, his hair was combed. He looked nervous too. which somehow made Tomas feel a little better. Gloria met them at the front door. She was smaller than Tomas had imagined. A short woman with silver hair and kind eyes behind round glasses. She wore a simple blue dress and no jewelry except for a thin gold chain around her neck. When she smiled, her whole face lit up. "You must be Tomas," she said, extending her hand. "I have been waiting to meet you." Her handshake was firm and warm. She shook his father's hand too. And something passed between them. A look of understanding. Two people who had spent their lives working hard and expecting nothing in return. "Come," Gloria said. "Let me show you around." The tour took almost an hour. Gloria walked them through the grand lobby with its marble floors and painted ceilings. She showed them the practice rooms where musicians warmed up before performances. She introduced them to the staff, who all smiled at Tomas like he was some kind of celebrity. He hated it. He hated the way people looked at him now. Like he was special. Like he was different. He was still the same kid who slept on a fold-out couch and ate cereal for dinner when money was tight. He was still the same kid who had never had a real piano lesson in his life. Finally, Gloria led them to the main concert hall. Tomas stopped in the doorway. Even in daylight, with the house lights on and workers moving around the stage, the room took his breath away. It was just as beautiful as he remembered, maybe more beautiful, because now he could see all the details he had missed in the dark. The intricate carvings on the balconies, the way the ceiling curved like the inside of a seashell. The thousands of seats, all empty, all waiting. And there on the stage, the Steinway. His Steinway. The one he had played. That impossible night. "Go ahead," Gloria said softly. "It remembers you." Tomas walked down the aisle slowly, his footsteps echoing in the vast space. He climbed the steps to the stage. He stood in front of the piano and ran his fingers along its smooth black surface. "Sit," Gloria said. She had followed him onto the stage. "Play something for me." Tomas sat down. His hands were trembling. This was different from that night. That night, he had been alone. No one was watching. No one was judging. Now Gloria was standing right there, and his father was sitting in the front row, and the weight of everything that had happened pressed down on his shoulders like a heavy blanket. He placed his fingers on the keys. He took a deep breath, and he played. It was a simple piece, one of the first he had ever learned. A gentle melody by a composer whose name he could not even pronounce correctly. It lasted only 2 minutes. But when he finished, he looked up and saw that Gloria had tears in her eyes. "You have something rare," she said quietly. "Something that cannot be taught. Do you know that?" Tomas shook his head. He did not feel rare. He felt scared and small, and completely out of his depth. Gloria sat down on the piano bench beside him. She was quiet for a long moment, looking out at the empty seats. "When I was young," she said, "I wanted to be a pianist. I practiced every day for 15 years. I went to the best schools. I had the best teachers. And I was good. Very good. But I was never great." She paused. "I did not have what you have, that thing inside you that makes the music come alive. I could play the notes perfectly, but I could never make people feel the way you made me feel when I watched that video." Tomas did not know what to say, so he said nothing. "There is a concert," Gloria continued. "New Year's Eve. It is our biggest event of the year. The most important people in the city will be there. Critics, donors, musicians who have played on the greatest stages in the world." She turned to look at him. "I want you to perform." The words hit Tomas like a punch to the stomach. "What?" he whispered. "I want you to play at the New Year's Eve gala. On this stage. On this piano. In front of 800 people." Tomas stood up so fast he almost knocked over the bench. His heart was racing. His palms were sweating. He felt like the walls were closing in. "I can't," he said. "I can't do that. I've never played for anyone. I've never even had a lesson. Those people, they'll know. They'll hear every mistake. They'll laugh at me." Gloria did not flinch. She just looked at him with those calm, kind eyes. They might, she said. Some of them are cruel. Some of them have forgotten why they fell in love with music in the first place. But most of them, Tomas, most of them are just people. People who are tired and busy and stressed. People who have forgotten how to feel. And when they hear you play, they will remember. I promise you that. Tomas shook his head. You don't understand. I'm nobody. I'm a janitor's son. I learned piano from YouTube videos on a broken keyboard. I don't belong here. Gloria stood up and walked toward him. She took his hands in hers, and her grip was surprisingly strong. Listen to me, she said. The piano does not care who your father is. It does not care where you live, or what school you go to, or how much money is in your bank account. The piano only knows one thing. It knows if you have something true to say. And you do, Tomas. I have watched that video 100 times. And every time, I hear it. Truth, pain, hope, love. Everything that makes us human. You put it into the music. She squeezed his hands. You are scared. Good. That means you understand what is at stake. But I am asking you to trust me. Trust yourself. Take this chance. Because chances like this do not come twice. Tomas looked at her. Then he looked at his father, who was still sitting in the front row, watching quietly. His father nodded. Just once. A small nod that said everything. I believe in you. Tomas turned back to Gloria. His voice was barely a whisper. What would I play? Gloria smiled. It was the smile of someone who had just watched something wonderful begin. Whatever you want, she said. Play something that tells them who you are. That night, Tomas went home and sat on his fold-out couch for a long time. His keyboard was in his lap, but he did not play. He just stared at the wall and thought about everything that had happened. The video, the millions of views, the invitation, the impossible, terrifying, once-in-a-lifetime invitation. He thought about all the nights he had spent teaching himself to play. All the hours with headphones on, fingers moving silently, dreaming of something he thought he could never have. And then, slowly, an idea began to form in his mind. He would not play Chopin. He would not play Beethoven, or Rachmaninoff, or any of the pieces that other pianists had played 1,000 times before. He would write something new, something that was only his. A piece that told the story of a boy who learned to make music on a broken keyboard in a tiny apartment. A boy who listened to symphonies through parking lot walls. A boy who had spent his whole life feeling invisible. He picked up a pencil and a crumpled piece of paper from the floor, and he began to write. New Year's Eve arrived faster than Tomas thought possible. The weeks leading up to it were a blur. He spent every night working on his composition, writing and rewriting, playing phrases over and over on his old keyboard until they sounded right. Some nights he stayed up until 3 in the morning. Some nights he did not sleep at all. He called the piece Invisible. It was not a happy piece. It was not a sad piece either. It was something in between. Something true. It was the story of his life, translated into notes and chords and melodies. The loneliness of being unseen. The ache of wanting something you think you can never have. The quiet hope that refuses to die, no matter how hard life tries to crush it. When he played it for Gloria a week before the concert, she did not say anything for a long time. She just sat in her chair with her eyes closed, and when the last note faded, she whispered, "That's the one." Now, the night had come. Tomas stood backstage in a suit that did not quite fit. Gloria had bought it for him, but there had not been time for proper adjustments. The sleeves were a little too long. The shoulders were a little too wide. He kept tugging at the collar, which felt like it was trying to strangle him. Through the curtain, he could hear the sounds of the concert hall filling up. Voices, laughter, the rustle of expensive dresses, and the clink of champagne glasses. 800 people were out there. Critics who wrote for important newspapers, donors who gave millions of dollars to the arts, musicians who had played on stages around the world, and in the front row, his family. His mother in a dress she had borrowed from a neighbor. His father in his church shirt, the same one he had worn to meet Gloria, his two little sisters, squirming with excitement, wearing matching ribbons in their hair. Tomas felt like he was going to throw up. A stagehand walked by and gave him a nervous smile. 10 minutes, she said. 10 minutes. In 10 minutes, he would walk onto that stage. He would sit at the Steinway. And he would either fly or fall in front of everyone who mattered. His hands were shaking. He shoved them in his pockets to make them stop. Gloria appeared beside him. She was wearing a beautiful silver gown, and her eyes were bright with something that looked like joy. "How are you feeling?" she asked. "Terrified," Tomas said honestly. Gloria laughed. A warm, real laugh. "Good. That means you're ready. What if I mess up? What if I forget the notes? What if they hate it?" Gloria put a hand on his shoulder. "Then you mess up. Then you forget. Then they hate it. And tomorrow, the sun will still rise, and you will still be the same remarkable young man you are right now." "But Tomas," she leaned closer, "I don't think any of that is going to happen. I think you're going to walk out there and remind every single person in that room what music is supposed to feel like." The stagehand came back. 5 minutes. Gloria squeezed his shoulder one last time. "Trust yourself," she said. Then she walked away to take her seat. Tomas was alone. He closed his eyes and thought about all the nights on his fold-out couch. All the hours with headphones on, teaching himself songs from YouTube videos. All the dreams he had been too scared to say out loud. He thought about his father, working 6 days a week so his family could survive. He thought about his mother, coming home with swollen feet and still finding the energy to kiss him goodnight. He thought about that broken keyboard with 3 missing keys, the one that had started everything. "Ladies and gentlemen," a voice announced over the speakers, "please welcome our special guest for this evening." The curtain opened. The lights hit him like a wave of heat. For a moment, Tomas could not see anything. Just brightness. Just blinding, overwhelming brightness. Then his eyes adjusted, and he saw them. 800 faces, all looking at him. Some curious, some skeptical, some bored, a few smiling. And there in the front row, his family. His mother was already crying. His father was sitting very still, his hands clasped tight in his lap. His sisters were waving at him like crazy. Tomas walked to the piano. His footsteps echoed in the silence. The Steinway waited for him, black and beautiful under the spotlight. He sat down on the bench. He adjusted the height. He placed his fingers on the keys. The hall was completely silent. Not a cough, not a whisper, nothing. Tomas took a deep breath, and he began to play. The first notes were soft, hesitant, like footsteps in an empty hallway, like a boy walking through high school, hoping no one would notice him. The melody was simple, almost childlike, and it filled the concert hall like smoke, drifting into every corner. Then it began to grow. The music swelled, becoming deeper, more complex. There was pain in it now. The pain of wanting something so badly it hurt. The pain of watching your parents work themselves to exhaustion. The pain of feeling invisible in a world that only seemed to see the loud and the confident and the rich. Tomas played with his eyes closed. He was not in the concert hall anymore. He was in his living room, on his fold-out couch, with his broken keyboard in his lap. He was in the parking lot of this same building, listening to symphonies through the walls. He was everywhere he had ever been, and the music carried all of it. The piece shifted again. The darkness began to lift. A new melody emerged, fragile but beautiful. Hope. The hope that had kept him going all those years. The hope that someday, someone would hear him. The hope that he was more than just a janitor's son, more than just an invisible kid in the back row. The music built toward its climax. Tomas's fingers flew across the keys, pulling out sounds he did not know the piano could make. The whole hall seemed to vibrate with it. The chandeliers trembled. The air itself felt alive. And then, just as the clock on the wall reached midnight, the final note rang out. It hung in the air for what felt like forever. pure and clear and true. The sound of a boy who had finally been seen. Silence. For 3 full seconds, there was absolute silence. Then the concert hall exploded. People leaped to their feet. They clapped. They cheered. They shouted things Tomas could not understand. The sound was deafening, overwhelming, like a wave crashing over him. He sat at the piano, frozen, unable to believe what was happening. In the front row, his mother was sobbing into her hands. His sisters were screaming his name. And his father, his quiet, hard-working father who never showed emotion, had tears streaming down his face. The standing ovation lasted 11 minutes. Gloria was right. He had reminded them what music was supposed to feel like. In the months that followed, Tomas received a full scholarship to one of the best music schools in the country. He performed at famous concert halls around the world. He was interviewed on television, written about in magazines, celebrated by people who had never given him a second glance before. But he never forgot where he came from. He started a foundation to bring music education to kids who could not afford lessons. He donated pianos to schools in poor neighborhoods. He gave free concerts in community centers and church basements, and anywhere else people needed to hear something beautiful. And every year, on New Year's Eve, he returned to Whitmore Concert Hall to play Invisible one more time. A reminder of the boy he used to be, a promise to never stop seeing the ones who felt unseen. The concert hall had hosted thousands of performances over the years, legendary musicians, historic moments, nights that people talked about for decades. But ask anyone who was there that first New Year's Eve, and they will tell you the same thing. They had never heard anything like it before. And the concert hall was never quite the same again.